On January 3, 2026, in a window of less than 6 hours, elite units dismantled the entire Venezuelan command structure and physically removed Nicolas Maduro from the Western Hemisphere. The operation was surgically precise, overwhelmingly fast, and it has left the world asking one question: why now? This attack was the final move in a high-stakes chess game that has been played in the shadows for the last 18 months. To understand why this happened, we have to look at 3 critical breaking points that converged in late 2025. This is the story of how the second Trump administration decided that the only way to fix the Venezuelan problem was to erase the Venezuelan government. First, let's talk about the money. For the last 2 years, the Maduro regime has been surviving on what experts call the shadow fleet. Hundreds of rusting, uninsured tankers turning off their transponders to smuggle oil to China and India. By late 2025, the US Treasury estimated Maduro was generating billions in illicit revenue, bypassing sanctions completely. Washington initially offered a deal: hold real elections and we lift the sanctions. But after Maduro stole the 2024 election, ignoring the landslide victory of opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez, the US realized sanctions were dead. Maduro had become sanction-proof as long as he had his shadow fleet. So the strategy shifted from economic warfare to kinetic warfare. In December 2025, under the cover of anti-narcotics operations, the US Navy began quietly physically sinking and seizing these tankers. The drug war you saw in the news was actually an oil war. The January 3rd attack was simply the final blow to secure the world's largest proven oil reserves before they could be fully promised to Beijing. Oil is only half the story. The other half is demographics. By 2025, nearly 8 million Venezuelans had fled their country. This created a domestic crisis the US administration could no longer ignore. The White House had promised to deport millions of undocumented migrants, but there was a logistical nightmare. Venezuela wouldn't take them back. Maduro's government refused repatriation flights, effectively weaponizing migration. Sources now suggest that in late 2025, a secret ultimatum was delivered to Caracas: accept the return of 600,000 migrants or face immediate regime change. Maduro, betting that the US wouldn't risk a war in an election cycle, called the bluff. He lost. This attack effectively installs a new transition government that has already agreed to accept those deportation flights. It solves a domestic US political problem by using military force abroad. Finally, we have to look at the map. For Russia and Iran, Venezuela was their unsinkable aircraft carrier in the Western Hemisphere. Intelligence reports in late 2025 indicated that Venezuela was negotiating to host long-range Iranian missiles and expand Russian naval access to the island of La Orchila. For the America First doctrine, this was a hard red line. This strike was a loud message to Beijing and Moscow. The Caribbean is a closed sea. By removing Maduro, the US is forcefully decoupling South America from the axis of resistance. It is the resurrection of the Monroe Doctrine for the 21st century, the idea that foreign powers have no business in the Americas. So what happens now? The US has won the battle, but the war might just be starting. We are looking at 3 immediate impacts. First, the insurgency. Maduro's power wasn't just him, it was the colectivos, armed gangs, and the military elite. If they retreat to the jungle, Venezuela becomes a South American Vietnam, a guerrilla war that could drag on for years. Second, the oil shock. Venezuelan production is now offline. Expect gas prices to spike globally until US companies like Chevron can physically take over and repair the infrastructure, which could take months, if not years. And third, the precedent. The US just proved it will kidnap a head of state. This changes the calculus for every enemy leader on Earth. Expect nuclear proliferation to speed up, because having a nuke is now the only insurance policy against a midnight raid. The capture of Nicolas Maduro is the boldest foreign policy gamble of the 21st century. If a transition government stabilizes Venezuela, lowers oil prices, and stops the migration flow, it will be hailed as a masterstroke. But if Venezuela descends into civil war, requiring a decades-long US occupation, then January 3rd, 2026 will be remembered not as a victory, but as the day the United States walked into a trap of its own making. Thanks for watching.